Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Bold and the Beautiful. Brooke and Taylor's long list of shared romantic partners exposed. Hey, Bold and the Beautiful fans. With Brooke Logan, Catherine Kelly Lang, and Taylor Hayes Rebecca Buddick once again caught in the spell of the same man, we're going to take a look at how often these two have fallen for the same guy. Because it's not just Ridge Forrester Torsten K that it's happened with. We're going to dig into which husbands that Brooke and Taylor shared and which other love interests they've had over the years that overlapped. Obviously, when you think about Brooke and Taylor, the first thing you think about is their long-running love triangle with Ridge. He met Brooke first, but was engaged to Caroline Spencer. They had an off-again, on-again relationship, but then he was back with her and married her. Had it not been for his beloved Caroline getting cancer, Ridge would never have met Taylor because she was one of his wife's doctors. But also, had Caroline lived, I don't know if Brooke or Taylor would have stood a chance with him, because Ridge was crazy about both Caroline Spencer, and then years later about her namesake niece, the other Caroline Spencer. He fell hard for both of them. He married both of them. But initially, when Ridge lost Caroline Spencer to cancer, he turned to Taylor, and that launched decades of back and forth between her and Brooke fighting over Ridge. It began in the days when Ridge Forrester Ron Moss and Taylor Hayes Hunter Tylo, and it continued through the Ridge recast when it swapped over to Torsten K. Then, of course, we got to more Taylors, first Krista Allen and then Rebecca Buddick. Taylor and Ridge were married twice, once in 1992 and again in 1998. The first time it lasted 3 years. The second time it lasted 8 years. But they've been engaged in the interim more times than I care to count. As for Brooke, she holds the record for times a woman has been married to Ridge. If my count is right, Brooke and Ridge have been married 8 times. I don't think all of them were legal. I do remember him being at the altar also with both Brooke and Taylor at separate times, and he walked away from the women. Both Taylor and Brooke separately at the altar for various reasons. All this and they both still want Ridge, which is wild. Not only did both Taylor and Brooke marry Ridge, but they also both got intimate with his dad, Eric Forrester John McCook. Now, Brooke, in addition to getting intimate with him, married Eric a couple of times. And in her defense, while Taylor has spent some time in the sheets with Eric, she never made it down the aisle to be Mrs. Forrester. Another Forrester male that Brooke and Taylor share in common, though, is Thorne Forrester Windsor Harmon. Back in the Windsor Harmon days, Brooke married Thorne once after marrying his dad Eric once, and his half-brother Ridge twice. She then went on to repeat the cycle of father and son. Taylor never married Thorne, but she was engaged to him twice, I believe, over the years. And by the way, want to know something else wild? Brooke is not the only woman in the slept with the father and son club. Of course, Taylor did that too with the Forresters, but she also did it with another father and grandson. Not only did Taylor bed Eric, Ridge, and Thorne, but she also slept with Brooke's father, Stephen Logan Patrick Duffy, and Brooke's son, Rick Forrester. So, that is a granddad and a grandson. And Taylor was even engaged to Brooke's son, Rick. This was back in the Hunter Tylo days on Bold and the Beautiful, by the way. And while we're talking about fathers and sons and lovers and brothers, let's touch on another shared husband between Taylor and Brooke, because they both spent a lot of time with Ridge's half-brother that he hates, Nick Marone Jack Wagner. And we just got to see Jack Wagner again, which was delightful. Brooke had an intense love with Nick Marone Jack Wagner, and she married him in 2006. But they split up in 2007. That was the same year that Nick turned around and married Taylor. And again, this was back in the Hunter Tylo days. So yeah, Nick is a second in the shared husbands club with Ridge as a first. But there was another one. Brooke married Whip Jones Rick Hurst and they got hitched back in 2010. But Brooke's marriage to Whip wasn't the real deal. It wasn't about love, but it was about her saving face and trying to keep Bridget Forrester Ashley Jonas from finding out she had gotten pregnant by her daughter's husband, Deacon Sharp Shonkanen. That was all part of Hope Logan Annika Noel's origin story. But then 8 years later, Taylor and Whip had a bona fide love connection. They met on a dating app, and they wound up getting married. But Whip got tired of playing second fiddle in Taylor's heart because she still loved Ridge. They ended up breaking up. A fun little tidbit, by the way, is that Whip is a cousin of Oliver, the young guy that Hope dated in high school, that Brooke accidentally banged on a balcony in the dark in a mask. Another guy that Taylor and Brooke had in common, by the way, was Grant Chambers. He was Taylor's college boyfriend, and Brooke once revenge married him when she was angry at Ridge. Things got a little awkward, though, when Brooke's son Rick Forrester shot Grant Chambers in a fit of rage. And speaking of fathers and sons, do you know about Brooke and Thomas Forrester Matthew Atkinson? It's creepy because Brooke at one point had been raising him as a kid during one of those times that Taylor was presumed dead again back in the Hunter Tylo days. So Thomas kissed Brooke on the runway at a Forrester fashion show back when I believe it was Adam Gregory, to actors before Matthew Atkinson took the role, and is still playing him now. Also, Brooke and Thomas were in a plane crash back then. They ate these hallucinogenic berries, and they both briefly thought they slept together. Then Stephanie Forrester, Susan Flannery, Thomas' grandma, bribed him to tell Ridge that he really did do the deed with Brooke. Now, the truth later came out that Thomas didn't sleep with his former stepmother. And I would say these days, as much as Brooke and this new version of Thomas dislike each other, we're probably never going to see anything like that again on B&B. But the bottom line is there is just a whole lot of love-life overlap and a lot of marital overlap between Taylor and Brooke beyond even Ridge Forrester. And to me, the whole idea of it is a little strange. Not just because the same partners over and over, but just because having all these intersecting love interests between Taylor and Brooke to me is strange because these women are very much unlike each other. They don't look anything alike. Even with the actress changes going on with Taylor, she's always been a brunette. Brooke is very much a California blonde. Taylor is a doctor. Brooke does have a past as a chemist. I'm not saying she's not brainy, but Taylor's a lot more serious. Brooke's a lot more flashy. They're just very different women. What I can only hope is that fate will not keep them overlapping husbands and love interests, and all that is behind them once and for all. But it's bold, so never say never. In the glittering, scandal-soaked world of the bold and the beautiful, Brooke Logan and Dr. Taylor Hayes have shared a rivalry that spans decades. But beneath the insults, slaps, champagne-soaked confrontations, and whispered threats lies something even juicier: their long list of shared romantic partners. These two women didn't just battle over Forrester fashion, moral high ground, and their children's happiness. They built an entire soap legacy by swapping the same men, like designer handbags at a Beverly Hills consignment shop. And now, the receipts are in. Let's expose the jaw-dropping list of the men both Brooke and Taylor have romanced, married, or nearly destroyed each other over. Point 1. Ridge Forrester. The eternal prelude. Can't talk Brooke and Taylor without invoking the dressmaker. Ridge Forrester isn't just the love of their lives, he's a battlefield they've waged war over for most of their adult existence. Brooke married him. Taylor married him. He cheated on both. He flip-flopped between them like a Forrester scarf caught in an LA wind tunnel. From hot air balloon proposals to beach weddings and collapsed ceremonies mid-altar, Ridge has been their greatest addiction. Brooke called him her destiny. Taylor believes she was his soulmate. The truth, he was the rope in their longest-running tug-of-war. Even after remarriages, divorces, breakdowns, and amnesia, Ridge remains the crown jewel of their conflict. And let's be honest, he secretly loves the attention. Point 2. Eric Forrester. The patriarch problem. Brooke's history with Eric, legendary. She had his children, married him more than once, and nearly became the matriarch of the Forrester estate. Taylor's involvement with Eric wasn't as fiery, but the emotional undertones were there. After Stephanie's passing and Taylor's grief spirals, Eric stepped in as comfort, confidant, and potential romantic fallback. The fact that both women have had emotional and intimate entanglements with Ridge's father only adds a twisted generational flavor to their saga. Brooke slept with father and son. Taylor shared emotional intimacy and flirtation with the very man who ran the family empire. The Forrester family tree may never recover.